You don't want to lose the hair. You're good.
No, I think, first of all, this is amazing. Thank you for having me here. And, there's a couple soft spots in my heart for sure, because I wish this group, something like this was available even, let's call it, 20 years ago when, these decisions were in my life. And the short story is, so I grew up in Yakima, Washington, which is kind of 3 hours outside of Seattle, but, state of Washington. And I played soccer and basketball, and I played basketball to stay in shape for soccer, and it worked out well. But soccer was my main sport, and I played on the state team. I was at the time, I don't know if they still call it Olympic developmental, but like there was teams that you played on your state team, and then it went to regionals, and then you made the country, the Olympic team at that age group. And I played, my thing is I was an athlete until I wasn't, in the sense of I was good enough. I probably could have played at Division 2 or 3, but, I just chose not to. And, but I couldn't get away from sports. And so I instantly, and kind of fortuitously, like the school that I ended up studying at, Western Washington University, had a really, really good program for exercise science. And I instantly was like, all right, I'm going to be a strength coach. And so, we'll kind of get back to some of these things, but I discovered as an athlete, if you work hard, you can be great. But then I was very passionate about this. And so I studied biomechanics, physiology, and any of you that played at a higher level, I was the person or one of those coaches, the strength coaches and speed coaches that worked with you in the weight room or on the field. And so I graduated, and I didn't even for graduation, I didn't even walk, I didn't go to graduation because I was hired with the Seattle Sonics and Storm in the WNBA. I was one of the strength coaches. And so I remember there was like a game that day of like my graduation. I didn't even literally walk for my college graduation because I thought it was, I need to go to work in this game. And so, but that was my transition. And, so my thing is I was an athlete and then I wasn't, but I trained professional athletes, a lot of football players, a lot of basketball, WNBA. I was a strength coach on the squad for 2 years. And then went into more training, private training, as well as health clubs. And that kind of went for some years, handful of years. And then I transitioned out, which I can describe that, but that's the answer of, I was like one of y'all, all we want to do is play. And the moment that is not realistic anymore is a significant place in people's lives.
Yeah, once that kind of is gone, and then transitioning a lot of that energy into something else. So what was the idea? What sparked? And maybe just give a little bit of a background of Founders Live, and then what kind of sparked it? Where was the need for it?
So Founders Live is a global ecosystem for early stage startups and entrepreneurs. We're best known for pitch competitions that happen all over the world, and I'll describe the origin story. But our events are, sometimes hundreds of people, and then we pre-select 5 early stage founders, and they each get on stage to pitch, but they only have 99 seconds. And we can talk about why it's 99, but 1 minute 39 to describe what you're building, why, and why is it unique, and what's the vision around it. And then there's 4 minutes of questions from the audience. People are going to ask, can you tell us more about the team or the technology or whatever? And it's really cool because it becomes very engaging. We cycle through the 5 like that, and at the end, the crowd is the one that votes on the winner. So it's kind of like a local Shark Tank, but we don't have sharks. We actually have the audience engage and then vote on the winner. And so this happens every continent, from it's Pakistan, South Korea. We're launching in Australia, finally. It actually took a long time, but Lima, Peru, pretty much every continent, and I can talk about the story of how we expanded. But the key is, major thing I've learned is entrepreneurship is a human desire. People want to create, they want to build. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what language you are, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what city you sit in. Our world is built on entrepreneurship. And the problem is most people and teams out there are underserved. They're not getting the support, the resources, the access to capital. And it's the early stage. That means from idea to like first real significant funding, 10 million, 20 million, whatever, or 10 million of revenue. You look at that segment is tremendously underserved, and that's really what we do, is to provide an ecosystem for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that piece, that like 0 to 1 to like getting your pitch down, saying it in front of people, having it make sense, getting that feedback. But do you have any maybe examples or like seeing kind of that initial pitch? Because like I've seen it and heard it and I'm like, oh, it's bad. Like you see bad ones, right? You see, and like from that like initial stage where people they're struggling, like we all think we would be good at it, and then you do like that first pitch and you're like, did not go well.
Yeah.
And so like how was that kind of one of the needs of like, this is how I can serve this community, is providing this venue, providing an ability to get feedback? Because if you're like, I heard this, like if you're interviewing for the first time, you're going to be bad at it. And I didn't believe that coming out of college. I was like, not me. And then I got a Goldman Sachs interview right out of college and I was bad at it. And then I took every opportunity to interview. I interviewed for every job, things I didn't want to do. And then I got another call and I got the job, right? Because like you have to get reps. And so like, was that, oh, I can really give this community an opportunity for that, an opportunity to showcase?
Yes, but I'll actually answer it even in deeper. I started Founders Live 11 years ago. It was 2014. And even before that, and these are really good things. We can talk about some of the stuff, but it was my first startup experience as a CEO and founder. And it was like in mobile payments, like back when Square was coming out and, Venmo wasn't even a thing. And so we were building this thing. And point is that we totally just crashed. Okay. And, raised a little bit of money, but not a lot. And it was tough. Okay. Like this was like, I made the decision to go full time. Was like, I'm doing this thing, and it did not go well. And I was not at a good place in my life. I was kind of like, okay, where am I going to, move, or like, what am I going to do? And what's my next job and all this? And, what I did was I looked around and said, man, that experience, I could have used more support. I could have used more opportunity to get on stage and become very confident. And that's where like, it just clicked that it was like, well, let's just do this thing. And, by the way, Kent and I we got to know each other and we kind of had this conversation. And I know that he created something similar just to like kind of fulfill some sort of need that he had to get people together. But I created that first event. It was March 28th, 2014. And I totally threw together this format. Like what I just told you. It's like 3 hour long. It's networking. There's food. There's music. It's fun. And then we do the show, which is about an hour long, and 45 minutes to an hour. And one thing I noticed was like, yes, by putting people on a stage in a kind of competition, but not to millions of dollars not on the line, it makes them prepare. It's so valuable for all of us to have opportunity to get on stage. It could be 100 people. You might be nervous holding the mic. I don't know. I enjoy speaking on stage, but some people don't. But that is, it's like a crucible that you need to go through as an entrepreneur that, if you're going to be in front of a panel of investors that hope, $5 million is in the balance of that investment, you need to have these sort of experiences to kind of go through and, feedback from the audience, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. I need to tighten that message up. I need to get more confident here. So that was my insight of like, oh, if we combine this fun event, by the way, Founders Live it's so fun. And then you combine this like business thing where we provide the opportunity for people to get on stage and pitch. It's a magic combination. And I saw that first event. It went really well. And I kept doing that every single month in Seattle. And by like year 2, people are reaching out from Dallas, New York, Denver. They're like, this is awesome. Can we do this in our city? And that's where I had to do a lot of work to figure out how to multiply it. But we got there, and then we started launching new cities, and now it's in 130. I guess
bringing that to the next, it's like finding that chapter, that leader in the local city who's plugged in, because you're popping in and coming into all these ones when you do these big tours?
I travel when I want. That's the important thing. Like, I just travel when I want. I'm the CEO.
Yeah.
Our model is like, we find, like people like yourself that are holding this event, and we call them city leaders, and so they're all over the world. Mm-hmm. So they, we ask them to hold an event every 3 months, and they're getting the community together, and people are connecting, networking, just like this. This is awesome, and but showcasing the founders as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that this is like the from what, like having somebody come in maybe 10, 11, 5, 6 years ago. Is there like any that stick out to you that you like heard about them, or like, oh, there's this really great, they won our pitch competition, they were a part of it? Because like being so plugged in and these are on the ground.
Yeah.
Also, I think the piece you could probably talk about too is like when I got in, I started the founder's attorney. I think it was 2016, and the attrition rate is so hard. It is so brutal in startups. I always say like the best founders are like cockroaches. They're gonna like go to the next idea and the next idea, and they're gonna start the next thing, because it is not easy. Like a lot of the companies I worked with in 2015, 2016, 2017, a lot of my favorites, like they went down, and it's a hard, I think we see these glamorous ones, but like maybe, can you give us those contrasting points of like, yes, it's hard, but here's some really cool folks or companies that kind of came out of that?
Well, I get this question. Dude, we reach hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. There's tens and tens of thousands of startups in our ecosystem, and it's a blur now. I mean, it's just insane. But I don't know if you've heard of Wise, which is like a camera. Yeah. That they do smart cameras now. Mm-hmm. They pitched when they were like this little idea with a prototype in Seattle. They came out of Seattle. Fly Homes they're in the real estate industry, and their pitch, like they're billion, they were a unicorn. I don't know if they still are, but they definitely hit unicorn status. But they pitched at Founders Live when it was like, their initial pitch was like, hey, we'll give you like, they call it Fly Homes because we'll give you like air miles if you like purchase through us or something. It was some incentive to like buy a home this way versus just not. And they became pretty big, but that's the thing with Founders Live. Like I remember early on, I was like, and this is a Seattle thing, but I was like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if you were like back in the like 1990, you're in Seattle and you just like walk up to a bar and they're like what band is playing? Like, oh, they're called Nirvana or something, I don't know, and you don't even know who they are, and you walk in and you see this band, and then 2 years later, 3 years later, they're the biggest band in the world. That's kind of Founders Live. Yeah. You're gonna see these founders early on, and trust me, like, whether it's here in LA or New York or whatever, all of a sudden you're going to, over time we see these startups that are huge, or they're at least like, known companies, or kind of breakout companies.
They get that polish, they get that chance, they get the reps, they get the opportunity.
But you're seeing them early, and this is what was missing, was that raw, like, look, we put people on stage that are just 1 or 2 steps in front of you all. Mm-hmm. And that's like the most inspiring thing. Mm-hmm. Versus, oh, we're gonna go watch, see Mark Zuckerberg talk or whatever. It's like, I can't even relate, but we put founders that are just a little further. And, it shows that anyone can do this, and we can get into that stuff. I think as an athlete, or if you have that athlete inside you, I think you're steps ahead, because you know what high performance is. If you play college sports, like, how to excel, and we just can use those in a different way.
Yeah, I think that's a good point on the grinding, on the working hard. Like as an athlete, taking that experience of getting a lot of feedback and getting kind of some negative feedback and having to like incorporate that into what works going forward. And so I will ask, at some of these Founders Live events, do the questions get tricky? Because that's what I have found at a lot of like people, the audience will grill you on these, but it's better to have that grilling done there than in front of your first angel pitch, in front of your first.
Yes, and Jenna said it really well, or like what's in here is, Founders Live, like we have 5 core values, and these are set in every event, similar to this. We have, slides, and our city leaders, talk about them. And, our first one's respectful authenticity. This is what really it's about, is be your authentic self, but you must respect others and their authentic self. And the result of that is really not only inclusion, but also with Founders Live, it's about support, and another one is called Open the Door. So opening doors for people and making an introduction or doing something great. Give first. So these are our, literally, like, from day one, that's been our stuff. And so the questions are more supportive. No one goes to Founders Live and raises their hand in front of 150 people and wants to grill this person. They are going to ask a question, like, honestly, like, well, you didn't really talk about, like, the revenue model, or how do you actually are going to go to market? What do you do with your competitors or whatever? But they're not there to, like, make them look dumb, because that's what's the point of that? So, but the questions are challenging, and I think creating a space where a founder of an early stage company is forced by their choice, they applied to pitch, but you got to get up and kind of defend your vision.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good answer for someone asking something, mental note, you need to do a little more work. And that could be the difference from getting here to here to here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's Gooder's tagline as well, is be authentically yourself unless you're an asshole. That's the one that we like to use. It's on the box if you.
I might copy that.
But I think I would really love, because we get to see kind of this ecosystem in LA. Maybe we get plugged into like one or two more we guessed in. What do you like? What's your favorite part about going to these kind of cities and seeing kind of the aliveness, right? Sometimes you go to an event and you're like, eh. But I'm sure, like, just seeing that, like, community, and, like, seeing when it's thriving and it's working is probably a parity amongst all the cities.
Each year I choose a part of the world and tour it. And it's very special. I know it's pretty unique, but I'm able to do it. And I do it for various reasons, not only just like, why would you not travel if you can? And secondly, I'm tremendously curious, not only for the success of Founders Live, but I'm tremendously curious about what is creativity and entrepreneurship in various countries around the world. And one thing I'll say, or like, there's a couple things. Number one is we are way more similar than we are different. And I've been in Harare, Zimbabwe. I've been to a Founders Live, okay? I was like the only white guy there, and it was really beautiful. It was really amazing. And they are creating the things that they need as a society. Some of them are similar to us. Some of them are very unique and kind of identified for Zimbabwe, but very similar, okay? And I've been in Scotland. I've been all over, all these countries, and I think that's a very, very important thing to understand, is that, we all want pretty much the same things. We want to create value. We want to benefit our community. We want to be successful in some way or shape or form, whatever that means to you. And that's through entrepreneurship, okay? I think the differences are, some communities are a lot more advanced, right? Here, look, where are we sitting? Like, general LA, or you look at the Bay Area, you look at New York, you look at Seattle. These places are tremendously blessed, and I think a lot of people don't take it. They don't recognize that for what it is. The thing with Seattle is we complain. We're like comparing to Silicon Valley, and we're like, oh, it's like, dude, you've got Amazon there, you've got Microsoft there, you've got all this money, okay? So a lot of these cities globally that I've been to are not developed enough. There's not enough investment community, angels and venture capital, and then just infrastructure. And that's why Founders Live is actually more popular in that kind of second tier city globally than like the first tier cities, because there's a lot of infrastructure here. But like Edinburgh, Scotland, like we just had our last event a couple days ago, and it's like, just to see all this stuff pop out. So
they're excited.
They're very, very excited. They're very hungry, and it shows that, man, there is there is so much work to do to kind of lift all of this. Again, for that early stage, for entrepreneurs and startups just getting started, there's so much work to do, and that's just what really excites me.
I bet, yeah. I'm curious because I'm sure there's some people who have like thought about noodling on an idea or like are interested in doing something and going from that. And other than maybe coming to a Founders Live event and seeing like where, like what would you suggest in terms of like getting those reps, getting that confidence, building it out? Like obviously coming to an event is like a really great way to do that. But like, how do you get to be one of the 5 companies? You know, like what's the model? If somebody in the audience is thinking, I've been noodling on this idea for a minute.
Well, if you want to pitch at Founders Live, you can apply on our website, like founderslive.com/pitch. That allows you to choose a city, and that just gets in our system and it goes to our leaders. But I would say, if you're really thinking about building something, first and foremost, the way I would do this is, what kind of life do you want? What does that mean? There's many different paths to create a business, and if you're going to go raise money, like you're going to kind of be beholden to, once you take, especially venture capital, there's a path that you kind of need to be forced down, and that's getting an exit and getting a return for the investors. And is that really the life that you really want? Second, but included in that is okay, how do I really want to develop myself as an entrepreneur, and then what is the actual impact I want to make, in what direction? We heard a bunch of different answers of what y'all do. So if you do want to create your own company, is it in the direction that you're working right now, or is there something you're like, man, I can't get away from this idea, I'm gonna go explore that, right? Or there's a problem I keep seeing in the world. So that's the second thing, is what impact and what, in what direction do you want to build? And then thirdly is, the tools that we have today, which wasn't around 11 years ago. Good Lord. Whatever AI stuff now, but there's ways to put together a very basic but very functional thing, what we call an MVP, minimum viable product, to test it. Mm-hmm. So the goal is, you want to get something out and in end users' hands, or at least a segment of people that are testing it, literally for the lowest amount of cost possible, the quickest, which I would say within 3 months you can have something, very, very reputable. And then you want to see that people are pulling towards it, that there's actually a need. I think the biggest mistake is kind of not doing all what I said, to the point where you're taking this idea, spending money to get it built, forcing it into the market, and then no one uses it. Yeah. That's not the right path.
No one looked at it, no one talked about it, never got feedback.
No, yeah. So it's initial customer development, making sure that there is a need here, making sure that what you can build, and especially in today's tools, you can do that very simply. And then when you have something being used and people are like, yo, I love this, but it's breaking here, that's a good sign. Mm-hmm. They're literally it's not working okay, now they're telling you, dude, people are so busy, people only tell you if they care, because that solves a problem for me. And so so you can test these things pretty quickly. And then another thing is, hey, if you don't want to go it alone, you come to these things, whether it's something like this or a Founders Live or others, and you're going to meet people. And feel free to talk about your vision. Don't hold it in. The more you talk about it, the more you're going to get people to say, that's cool. I've been thinking about the same thing, and maybe they turn out to be your co-founder or whatever. So it's just putting it out there, and the path starts to form.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think just a couple more, and then we'll open it up for any sort of questions. But I'm curious now, because you said, you can develop something in 3 months, and it used to be 2 years, but now with AI, you're talking a week, right? Or even quicker. You can make things happen very, very quickly. What are your thoughts on community building kind of in this environment with the rapid rise of AI, and something that AI can't do is do this, right? Oh, yeah. And it can't replicate a Founders Live event. You can build that business maybe, but you can't, you don't get this. And so I guess what are your thoughts on and I know you guys wrote out the pandemic and these waves, these entrepreneurial waves and changes, but with AI and that change, how are you seeing the value of, I guess, community building?
These are more important. Going forward, these will be more important. So I think y'all are set great, and so is Founders Live. Like, I'm pretty excited about I'm excited and concerned about the future. Concerned and healthily, I think everyone maybe shares that, but I'm excited that we're just more of these tools are available to us, and I think building community is fundamentally the most, like, if not the most important thing. Mm-hmm. It's clearly important for Founders Live. I think when you think about what I said earlier about like why this created is like, I wished when I failed in my earlier startup that there was this and there was ecosystem around that connected us with people, resources, funding, at least pathways, and basically helping get the message out, get more exposure. Those are the 4 things we do. And in 5 years, the world is going to need Founders Live more than they need it now. It's going to need what you guys do.
Yeah.
Okay?
That opportunity.
And so I'm excited. I think concerned. I'm a little concerned of how fast things are going. I think it's kind of scary.
The exponential scale is...
Dude, and I listen to a lot of this stuff. I listen to like Sam Altman, and just I read a bunch of stuff, and they're pushing so hard. And I do think it's healthy to look at and say, is this act? And I'm not like, dude, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in innovation. I want to see these tools, but it's getting. I think we're crossing that chasm.
Is hard to comprehend. I guess just one more question on this is because Founders Live is larger than just that. Like, hey, Founders at the pitch of the raising capital, because that is its own separate path. And I'm very curious because we have some financial advisors, and I know Justin has done this on the micro PE, the rise, and seeing that. Is that are you seeing more people pitch, and are you seeing more people interested in that? And I especially, I'm sure in a lot of developing nations as well, other places, a lot of it is more of that micro PE or lending back with something. What's your kind of take on that? Like, as people are starting to buy like retiring businesses, like owned, operated businesses?
Well, the best way I would answer this is we are, I think one thing is we're nowhere where I want to be. So, hundreds, if not thousands of cities over time, maybe another 10 years. And that's going to allow for a lot of other things to layer in, whether it is like, maybe we create a marketplace for acquisitions, and maybe we create funds or some sort of like investment fund or various funds. So we're looking at that. So yes, the challenge in all this is we're talking about 50 countries. Each country has their own unique thing around investment, and the United States, obviously very big, but UK has its thing, and then you start looking at Europe. Europe has broken up, okay? What I mean by that is a lot of these countries have different regulations. South America, it's very difficult. So this is a problem that's like not easy at all. We're looking at how we want to do it over time. But I will tell you that there's huge opportunity to kind of make sure that capital flows, capital's available. But what does capital look like in 5 or 10 years? That's a huge question. Right? And, I don't know if we're at peak VC. We might be, outside of AI or all that. I was looking at numbers, and if you remove the AI funding from Q1, it's down. It's down.
It was tricky to get. It was very tricky. I mean, even anecdotally from what I was saying, but no, it was great. This was, it's awesome to get your take on this. I'm gonna just open it up. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, I saw in the back, Bradley.
I'm curious why 99 seconds.
Yeah, he left the cliffhanger.
I was the class of 99 in high school, and 99's always been like a number. And when Hotmail came out, I think I was like Nick. So James is my first name. I think I was Nick Hughes 99 at Hotmail. And so like I just kind of held on to that. And then it's not held on to Hotmail. No.
That's still his email if you want to connect after. It's still
99, class of 99, right? So like my freshman year in college, I was like the class of 99, and And then there's a lot of these pitch competitions around, and they have like 2 minutes and 90 seconds. Like I did a pitch competition when I was running the mobile payments company. It was 90 seconds. And so this is huge, like huge lesson. As you build your company or your brand, what sets you apart? We're known as 99 seconds globally, like across Africa, across Europe. Not, if I just pick 90, it almost is like everyone's like, no, but we are a 99-second pitch experience, and it sets us apart. And so not just like, was that like, it's one of those moments where I made a very good decision. I mean, just when you look back, but I could have just said 90 seconds and it would not have separated us in the market. So that's the reason. But now if I was going to do it differently, I would at least have used that separation. Like, what aspects of your company, your brand, your product can you differentiate, right? And maybe like, so Snapchat back in the day was disappearing photos before like others copied them. So just kind of those things, right? But yeah, it was the year I graduated high school, so.
Awesome.
So something you mentioned that was kind of interesting was you said in every city you have a city leader.
Yeah.
I think was the title you had. And so I'm really curious about kind of what you found in terms of selecting that, because that's a huge person. That's a really important position to fill. So what you have found in hiring best practices for them and getting them in the door and picking the right person, and then also at this point that has to just be a system. Like you have to have a really good process.
Yeah.
For that. So what that's looked like, creating a process or SOP for how they can get the best results.
Yeah, I would just say first, this is another fascination with Founders Live. Like, I created this thing, and then the next step was, how do we have this happen in other cities? And, I think a big decision was like, so some of the things I say is like, Founders Live is there to shine light on other people, like other founders. Like it's about, okay, the 5 founders in LA or the 5 founders in New York or Denver or whatever. And, but also the position is about, we call it a city leader for a reason. And so it's there to shine a light on them. And so we look for people that want to be in the spotlight, that want to be in front of people talking. They want to organize this. I think now it's kind of like, you can tell they can't not have it in their city. Meaning, so we're just launching in, I just brought the person on in Dakar, Senegal. And this guy was literally like, he's just like, I have to do this. Like, I'm the guy. Like, I'm it. Like, you could just tell, like, he would not have taken no. Like, he's just like, and so that's who we attract now, is these people that are just like, oh my God, like, oh, this is in Nairobi and this is in Cairo, and it's almost that jealousy of like, nope, it's gonna be in our city. And so we look for that. Sometimes they have a business, sometimes they don't. They actually just are attracted to this. And then, we have a process to get them going. And weirdly, I could sit here and talk about that, but I would just say like, we are looking for go-getters. We're looking for people that can hit the ground running, that they're not, excuses are not a part of their verbiage. And we bat probably 80%, 75%. And sometimes someone will come in and they mean well, but they don't get started. And so they need to get started, and they need to have their first event within the first 3 months. Hopefully within a month, they've identified a venue and they've hit the ground. They've got a date set and they're like getting moving. And we have what's called the playbook. We literally call it a playbook. That's a little thing from maybe my athlete time, but we have the playbook, which is a central resource. 11 years of learnings there. And, if they can't get started and, kind of A, B, and C, like, they're not the right person. So I give them a shot, and 3 out of 4 times it's going to hit. And then you get some of these people that for some reason I would like to get to 90 or 100%, but we're doing well. But it fascinates me. I would just say right now, like, part of me traveling is to meet our city leaders, and like, it's like kinship. I mean, it's seriously like, and they thank me all the time, and I'm literally like, thank you, you know, like, and what they do is amazing, and you know, they are the rock stars in their city, and you know, my pitch to them is like, look, you're going to be connected with all these entrepreneurs and founders in your city. Everyone's going to know you. You're on stage. Like, it helps them create their network and build their leadership, but they need to do it. You have to do it. Like, I mean, y'all know this. Like, you have to put on an event. What are you sitting on your hands for? You can't. You know.
You got to solve A, B, and C problem of all of the venue.
And you know,
yes.
you need to like remove the obstacles. Like, don't come to me. Like, sometimes they'll come to me with things, and I'm like, yo, like, I'm not in Nairobi. Like, I don't know what's going on. So they have to like figure it out. And basically, the second event's easier than the first. Third event, all of a sudden, they're like, okay, I know the route.
Yeah.
And I know how to do this.
You know the spaces.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go here, and then.
So who is like the audience or like the panel that you pick, or who pick these people?
Well, the audience, so Founders Live is really a community event, and we actually, you know, we want anyone and everyone that wants to attend. And the one thing that's unique is it's a pitch competition. We tell the people that get chosen, yo, like the crowd votes. So bring your network, bring your friends and family. And so when there's 5 presenters and each one brings 5 or 10 people, that's 25 or 50 people just right there. So it's the business community, it's the entrepreneurship community, it's a lot of founders. Like, you know, they could be serious tech founders, or they could be solo entrepreneurs that are like, you know, lawyers or, you know, accountants and all that. And
But so the person who gets paid, then you connect them with who are like founder or like investors. Or...
so on the back end, yes. Let me answer it this way. So, you know, the event, these people are pre-chosen maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks before. They get prep materials. Hey, this is a 99-second pitch, and we do buzz them and stop them. Okay, like that's part of where the competition comes in. Like, look, you're gonna get the shot clock is there, and so they prep or whatever. But then, you know, everyone comes to the event. It's fun. There probably is lawyers or, you know, marketing professionals or accountants or whatever. But afterwards, this is part what we didn't really talk about is our business model is actually, we have a marketplace now forming globally, and companies come in, we have a pricing structure for like law firms or others that want to reach those founders. And if people indicate they have those needs, we make a direct connection. So that's kind of like on the back end, whether you're in Scotland or you're here in the US, if you indicated certain things, we do make introductions to those resources if there's a match. Yeah, good question though.
Do you want to go and then up there?
I wanted to know, has there been any interest that you've seen in terms of in terms of the investment side around equity work? I know, like right now, publicly and politically, like there is a war on equity work being waged by.
What do you specifically mean by equity work?
Anything that's around like race, anything that's around like economic inequality, anything that's around educational access. I know there's a war politically on it, but in terms of like the private sector, even I talk to people in college, higher ed all the time, and there's a huge interest regardless of what we see in the news. But on the investment side, financial services, do you still see that there is an interest in that arena? Or if there is, people are afraid to invest in it based off any consequences that they feel like?
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes, there is. And, you know, I think the path here, for Founders Live specifically, you know, this has been what we've been focusing on forever. And I have a global view. Okay, like again, I've been in Africa, I've been in Europe, I've been in South America, and humans are humans, and humans are like my people. Like, I don't care what skin color you have in the sense of, I literally, like every day I talk with people in various continents. So our job here is to give opportunity and, I mean, yes, in general, diversity, opportunity, access to, you know, financial products and investment and all this. So for Founders Live, this will never be not what we do. I think specifically here, if you just want my personal opinion, I think it's bullshit how quickly things have changed directionally. And I think that proves that it's probably going to ping back in a few years or whatever, in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, the ones that mean it are the ones that are still here doing the thing that they said 6 or 12 months ago. And the ones that didn't mean it are literally canceling their DEI. Like, it's just like, okay, that's what you're choosing to do corporately. But yeah, I would just say, I think it's kind of like continually path ahead. And we strive to continually surface resources for, you know, founders, no matter where they live. And, you know, I think the dynamics in the US are challenging right now, but it kind of doesn't matter to me. We just keep going.
So I mean, like, so that's great. But
Yeah.
I mean also, and I got that vibe from you anyway, right? But I mean, just in terms of like the financial services or people who are looking
Yeah.
to invest
Yeah.
and scale their capital.
To quickly answer this, I do think that there's a pushback or like a hesitancy.
That's right.
Yeah, there is. I just think that might be short-lived, meaning a few years. My hope is in 3, 4, 5 years, there's a different tone and a different feeling on all this. That's my hope, right? So,
You can always have hope.
look, I think
Gotta-
we're all humans here.
Yeah.
What the hell are we talking about? Like opportunity, success, building, you know, creating value. Like that should not be. It should not matter. But that's my opinion. But this is a good question. Thank you.
Do you want to kick it up? Then maybe we have like one more, timing wise. Where are we at, Jenna?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're at 7:30.
Cool. You want to go and
I
then
was just gonna ask about scaling the business, like going from the meetings once a month in Seattle
Yeah.
to being around for 11 years and 50 plus countries. It sounds like. How have you expanded this business? Has it been like those city leaders?
This is very, very good question. The way I'd answer it is, it doesn't look. This is Founders Live. This is like kind of unique to my company, but I think it can apply to other businesses. You absolutely have to find a repeatable system and process, and then you have to find how that can happen as lowest cost as possible. Okay, and you know, I was able to find this. I was able to find the way to, you know, our city leaders are ambassadors. They're not employees, so we don't pay them. So we can have someone in Senegal because it's just we have an agreement to sign. Our lawyers like created it all. It's like, okay, cool. And so when you look at that, you actually can make certain decisions of how you want your venture and your enterprise to expand around the world. We don't make money from the events, and so we're not paying like taxes in all these different countries or, you know, whatever. Our model is different so that we can have an event like this, like, you know, people show up and, you know, there are some dynamics locally, but outside of that, like there's ways that we've expanded that I chose to forgive that over here and realize the game that I and we are playing is over here. So with scaling, that's the intelligence you have to have, is to understand the landscape and say, oh, this would be the mover, this is how we scale. But you're like, okay, economically, we just need to make sure that we don't lose money. And then over here, like we're doing it's a scale play. Like, you know, Founders Live will be ever bigger, like we grow every week and every month. But in 5 to 10 years, we'll be reaching tens and tens of millions of people. And the economics on that are very significant. So it's a big play. It's a long play. I've viewed it that way to have a flywheel, as Amazon would say. You have a flywheel. You got to figure out that flywheel that then will continue to grow, right? And our city events, city leaders are there. Each new event has 5 people that pitch. Well, they're going to invite people. So it becomes this kind of like tell your friend type of thing. And then now, I mean, we get outreach so like every week. It's just like, the country right from Nigeria and Ivory Coast is Benin, I think. Does that sound? It starts with a B. It just hit today, and I was like, oh shit! Like I'm still discovering these countries where like I literally had to map it, and I'm like, oh my god, And like, how did this person find out about it? I don't even know.
And they want to do a Founders Live event.
He's literally like, I'm in, let's
That's
do
awesome.
this. And I have to interview him and all that. But like, this is the point, right? So scaling becomes intelligence on how do you get the flywheel running? And we're nowhere near where I want to be, but like, we've scaled very significantly with very low cost. And so those are the decisions. Okay, we had one.
I think we
Let's
had,
do one more.
we have one more. I saw you and I saw Bree. Are they quick ones?
No, I can ask after. It's okay.
Okay, Bree, what do you got? And I saw.
Okay, I was curious, what are some of like your favorite qualities in founders?
You know, when you meet a real founder, and what I mean by that, I'm just not me, whatever, but like, you'll know. It's like the energy of like this optimism of like what they want to build and what they see in the world. That's probably my favorite quality is this, just like to be successful, you literally, nice catch.
Oh, wow, good save. Let's go.
That was very athletic of you. So optimism and just that. And then secondly, I think it's resilience, and not a day goes by that tough shit, happen. Like whatever, it's a no from a potential customer, or it's, oh man, okay, like we got to figure that one out. I think as athletes, this is the world we grew up in. Like to make a team either in high school or college or professional, what did you overcome?
Yeah.
And it was not easy at all. Professional tennis, like Jesus, like you're literally at 0.0001% of the world. And I would just say that's exactly what entrepreneurship and successful founders are. So I love the resilience. And the last one I would say is the creativity. Because like any founder you meet, they like tell you what they're working on. You're like, oh my God, I never even like thought of that before. So, and that's, when I travel around the world, I hear all these random things. So just the creativity that people have, and they combine A, B to C, and they're working on some cool stuff. So those three things are probably what I love the most, but there's so many.
Yeah, hit it in the back for the last one.
Most memorable founders pitch. 99 seconds.
I'll say it in 10. Well, look, like I said, it's I struggle with this question. It's like, look, I don't have any kids, but like, who's your favorite child? And if you have more than 3, it's probably a tough answer. This will be a good one for this audience. When I was in Dallas, this was 2019 when I was in Dallas, and these guys created, it's a automated, and it's probably even more smart now, but it was like an automated quarterback that threw the footballs accurately and inaccurately for players, because quarterbacks literally need rest, but wide receivers or other players need to catch more and more balls. And how do you actually do that? And they have those, if you remember those 2 tire things where, well, those are like dumb, right? This was literally it was about that tall, and it held like 8 footballs, and a player would wear, they would just wear something, and it could track them, and it could like throw probably 50 yards, like tight.
Cool.
But then it would also throw it inaccurately, so the guy can like dive and catch it. So that's a pretty memorable one. And they had a prototype there. It was really cool. But they're working with college and professional teams now. I know that. They're successful and it's going well. But that's just one that kind of came
Bring
about.
a prototype and have the crowd get involved, catching a few passes.
Because like when you start putting AI in there and like,
Yeah.
spatial awareness, like you basically have this robot quarterback.
I mean, you're seeing some of the really amazing stuff in that space with like Jaden Daniels, right? Like working
Yeah.
a lot on VR and Sims, and like it's incredible.
Though, can't believe we're bringing this up now, but we have Founders Live Athletes, and we've held 4 big events, the last 3 Super Bowls, that celebrate athletes turned entrepreneurs. And it's been really fun. So we launched it at the Super Bowl that was the Phoenix one, and we did the Vegas Super Bowl, and we just had this was our 4th event, and that was in New Orleans, and it was really awesome. Ray Lewis was on our stage, Patrick Peterson. It was really cool. And what's cool is like, you have, a lot of, athletes now turned entrepreneurs, and we do a pitch competition and all that. And actually, Tully, what's his last name? But he created the beach volleyball league. He'll do some stuff here. It's kind of like you do flag football. It's contact, but it's not full contact. But it's the beach football league. So he was our winner this year. It was
cool.
fun. But what I'm saying is like the intersection of sports, technology, and entrepreneurship is blowing up right now.
Absolutely.
And when you look at NIL and all the stuff available there, and those guys, women, both are literally entrepreneurs if they know it or not, and they're starting to see the money. But what's going to happen is, I think smartly, we have wealth managers that are going to come in, help them actually do smart, intelligent things with the capital that they're getting as a not college gate amateur athlete anymore. They're actually getting paid.
Making a lot of money.
But what happens after that? And then what products are created? You're going to see massive, massive stuff in this industry.
And I mean, new leagues, like in the community building event, like the live sports events are.
Well,
ways to
TGL. What's the women's what was that called?
Which one?
Women's basketball, the 3-on-3.
A new league.
Unrivaled. I mean, a lot of innovation around like rethinking what this can and maybe should be, especially with audience and all this stuff.
I mean,
So
Savannah Bananas, but
Savannah Bananas,
re-engineering what baseball looks like. All right, well, with that, can we give a huge hand to Nick?
Thank you all
for coming out. Hopefully, you found it interesting. I will skip SVs, or you want to try to?
I mean, anyone have any really quick SVs? Thank you to someone in the group.
I just want to give a quick thank you to John. He invited us to go to the U.S. versus Brazil game at SoFi, which was the first women's event at SoFi Stadium, and it was incredible. It was so cool. Yeah, it was really fun.
Thanks to Curtis, because I had a couple friends drop out like days before, so I was blasting everybody like, who wants to go? Who wants to go? And Curtis has gone to Chargers games with my tickets before.
Yeah, that was awesome. Cool.
Nick sent me a couple intros. We've yet to officially connect, but we have a thread going. It's not dead, so thank you for those. Appreciate that.
Cool. We'll wrap up. But thank you again, and thanks for.
Well,
being a
thank
part
you
of
all
it.
too, and I think it worked out really well, and I can feel the energy in this group, and keep it up. Like, this is really important.
Send us your events too, and we'll shout
Yeah. The biggest one that I forgot to ask was, how can this community support you? And so maybe we can end on that.
Well,
if there's anything we can do.
Ending on that,
support.
we actually are looking for a new city leader here in LA. LA has been a little tough to, it kind of was a little rocky after the pandemic, and we are looking for more leadership here. So I'll actually send you guys a link, and you can share it out. And if you all know anyone that maybe would be interested in leading, would love to talk with them.